This right here is a Bowser K11 steam engine that I built from a kit a few years back. For this video, I'll be doing a tune-up of it since it's been probably at least 5 years since I've done any actual tune-up on this thing, so it's a bit overdue for one. And I'm doing today's video as a request from someone who was wanting to know how to maintain these things. So the first thing I'll do here is just separate the tender from the engine to make it easier to work on. This one has a wireless drawbar, which is nice. So the wiring is all inside the steam engine. Nothing going to the tender. With the tender, there's really not much to do, and as you can see here, I'm not using the original brass wheels. I replaced them with nickel intermountain wheels, which I found stay a bit cleaner and work more reliably. And I also added these wipers to touch the axles because it helps with electrical pickup, makes it that much more reliable around the track. So the only maintenance to do on here is just like a little wheel cleaning, which you can do with the paper towel if you see any dirt. If it's anything really hard on there, you can take something a bit more abrasive. But for these intermountain wheels, I found that paper towel is really about all that's needed in most cases. They stay very clean. And it's really not picking up much at all because there wasn't much dirt in the first place on these wheels. So beyond that, about the only thing to do is just add a little bit of oil here and there to the bearings. So I just take a wire, put a little drop of oil on the end, put that at each point. And spin that in a bit. And there's usually a bit of extra oil that gets on the outside, and when that happens, just wipe that away before it can eat into the paint or anything. A few little coal flakes coming off there as I handle it. I tried sprinkling real coal on top of this one with a bit of glue to hold it down. The original cast-in coal load wasn't really the best looking, but this is an older tender from them, so that's kind of to be expected. I mean, it looks fine, but might as well add some real coal on top if you've got it to make it look that much better. And that's all to do for the tender, so I'll just set that aside. Now these early Bowser steam engine designs, like this one, this was actually their first die-cast kit that they made, and they continued making it all the way up to the end of their kit production. But their chassis design for these is excessively reliable. So just try to remove that plate there. There's also that screw there. And the last screw hole there actually never gets a screw in it because that's a remnant of the original mechanical design of this thing, which used two bearing support blocks in there with the worm going completely parallel to the chassis, and then they had a different style of motor mounted back here in the firebox with a rubber tube connecting it to the worm drive shaft. But now with the DC-71 motor design in there, they didn't have to use that anymore, but no reason to take the hole out either. So now that comes off, and you can see the separate bearings in there. And by taking that screw out, that also released the gear mesh, so That's spinning around freely at the moment, aside from just a slight touch from the motor. There. So again, with everything turning freely here, there's not really much to do aside from adding a bit of fresh oil. Spin that in a little bit. And then just a touch of fresh grease for that gear. Spread that on a few teeth. And that should do the job. All right. Put the cover back on. Make sure that's still turning freely, which it is. Just want to make sure that as you're putting these back in, because sometimes when you're screwing these plates back on, it can affect the alignment of those bushings in there. But as long as everything is kept straight, you don't have anything to worry about. If things do go out of line, then you just go back and reset the bearings like Bowser described in the instructions, which to do that you would want to take the chassis off from the boiler, which I'll show how to do that in a minute here, and you would put a large nut over each axle, give it a quick strike with a small hammer or maybe a metal wrench or something else, and that gets the bearings aligned in there so that it can roll super freely. This will get the gear mesh back in place. Make sure there's no binds there, which there isn't. So now I'll just put up a terminal there and there and start it up. Let the motor work in that grease a bit. The motor needs a bit of oil too. You can probably hear the bearing noise from it there. Alright, so now I'll just run that. Oh yeah, that definitely needs some oil on that motor. So I'll take my bright boy block here, just move that back and forth a bit while the wheels are turning. I'll speed that up a bit. That's shining up the wheels real good. Alright, so that takes care of the drive wheels, and that will improve electrical pickup quite a bit. And I should also add some oil to those side rods while I'm at it. Just a drop in each one. The oil I'm using here is plastic safe transmission fluid. It's very useful stuff, long lasting. I thought these side rods were all nickel, but it looks like this one here might actually be steel or something. I see a bit of rust or oxidation on there that I don't usually see. Quite a few points to oil when you've got a valve gear. That's just a little drop for each one. And these are low wear parts. I'll just use the bright boy to shine that up a little. That's looking better. Don't need too much pressure on there to clean it up. Wipe that off a little. Actually, that might be brass. So that would explain the oxidation. Well, I have a nickel brush plating kit, so I'll have to touch up the nickel there and polish that a bit to keep it from tarnishing again. Same thing for the other side. All right, run that in a little bit. That's running nice and smooth. Okay. So now to get inside of it, first thing to remove, see these two screws in the back. And then you remove the front truck. Careful not to lose the spring or anything else when you pull that out. And that just lifts off of there to get to the inside. And I have never seen that before. Wow. Apparently there was a little issue with the plating on this neodymium magnet. Well, as long as it doesn't affect the magnetism, which it doesn't. So I might just have to brush that off and then paint over it to prevent the magnet from rusting, because I've heard that neodymium is very susceptible to that. Well, anyway, oil the motor. I didn't think I was keeping this anywhere humid or corrosive, so it's really weird to see this. All right, got the motor and got the oil in the motor. So I'll just hook that up again. Same points. Yeah, that sounds quite a bit better. Okay. Yeah, I'll deal with that plating problem later, I think. That is just flaking off of there, though. Very strange. Never seen that before. I have quite a few other Bowser steam engines with the same motor, and this hasn't happened with any of them. Just a little bit of grease flew off of the worm when I was working on that, so I'll wipe that out of there. Just slide that back on around there. And while the truck is off of there, I should also go ahead and clean those wheels. So again, I'm taking my block here. That's taking the dirt off pretty well. This is the side I trimmed. That's better. Getting into that flange area. Alright, now just a little oil in there. Now that's ready to put back on. Make sure to watch for that front mark on there so you don't get it in backwards. On one other little thing I did that I forgot about, is in order to make the truck sit better and just work a bit better, I filed down the sides of that washer that fits into the slot. Fits down there. Put the spring and the other washer. Put that back down into the hole. Tighten that down. The other two screws. Just line those up. And that is how you do the maintenance on a Bowser K11.